You open your eyes and the world you knew is already gone. Not fading, not declining. Gone, in the space of a few days, 20 years ago, faster than any government could contain it or any headline could explain it. You were either alive when it happened, or you were born into what came after. Either way, you are here now, and here is not a safe place to be. It started with the food. A fungus, a mutated strain of Cordyceps, made it into the global supply chain through contaminated crops, and by the time anyone understood what was happening, it was already everywhere. Within days, hospitals were overwhelmed. Within weeks, cities were falling. The military declared martial law. The government created FEDRA, the Federal Disaster Response Agency, and FEDRA began herding survivors into quarantine zones in whatever major cities could still be held. You ended up in one of those zones, Boston maybe, or Seattle, or Pittsburgh before that went wrong. The walls went up, the checkpoints appeared, and life, such as it was, began again inside a perimeter. The quarantine zone is not a rescue. It is a cage that calls itself a shelter, and the difference matters more with every passing year. You wake early because the work assignments come early. FEDRA has assigned you a job, fortifying the wall, processing rations, maintaining pipes that were never built to last this long. You wear a yellow suit that marks you clearly as a civilian, which is another way of saying non-military, which is another way of saying the bottom of everything. You stand in ration lines that open late and close early, and the rumor that soldiers are keeping the good food for themselves is not really a rumor anymore. It is just something everyone knows and nobody says too loudly. There are checkpoints throughout the zone, and you carry your quarantine passport everywhere. Soldiers scan you for infection without asking permission. If someone tests positive nearby, a neighbor, a stranger, someone who ate something wrong or got too close to the wrong person, they are not taken to a hospital. They are injected on the spot, or shot if they run. You have seen this happen. You have learned to keep walking. The Fireflies bomb checkpoints occasionally. You have learned to recognize the sound. You have learned which walls give the best cover and how long it usually takes for the soldiers to clear the area afterward. This knowledge was not taught to you. It accumulated the way all survival knowledge does through proximity to things going wrong. Outside the walls, and sometimes, terrifyingly, inside them, are the infected. You know their stages the way your grandparents knew weather patterns. Runners first, still fast, still almost human-looking, driven by pure aggression, the fungus fresh in the brain and hungry. Then stalkers, which are worse because they wait. Then clickers, which are worse still, blind, navigating by sound, their skulls split open by years of fungal growth. The clicking noise they make in the dark, something you will never fully stop hearing after the first time. And beyond that, the bloaters, which you hope to never encounter, enormous and armored and nearly impossible to put down. The fungus does not kill its host. That is the part that stays with you. It keeps them alive while it hollows them out, while it takes the wheel, while it turns whatever person they were into something that only exists to spread itself further. The people you have lost to it are still walking around somewhere. That is not a comforting thought. It is the opposite of a comforting thought, and you carry it every day. You have learned to be quiet in the wrong parts of the city. You have learned that spores collect in basements and enclosed spaces, and that a gas mask is worth more than almost anything else you own. You have learned to move quickly through open ground and slowly through dark corridors, and you have learned the difference between a building that is empty and a building that sounds empty, which are not the same thing at all. The quarantine zone was never meant to last forever. FEDRA knew it. The soldiers knew it. You suspected it from the beginning, and in the quiet moments, when the rations ran short 2 weeks in a row, when the patrols got tighter, when the Fireflies went suddenly silent, the suspicion hardened into certainty. Some zones collapsed to the infected breaking through. Some collapsed to the people inside them, pushed past endurance by food shortages and executions, and the particular cruelty of men with guns who stopped believing the rules applied to them. Pittsburgh fell to a civilian revolt. The people who survived it became hunters, taking what they needed from anyone passing through, because there was no longer any other way. That is what desperation looks like from the inside. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives gradually in small compromises, in choices made at the edge of survival, until one day you look around and you are no longer the person you thought you were. By the time Seattle comes into the story, FEDRA is already a ghost of itself on the West Coast. The Washington Liberation Front, the WLF, the Wolves, overthrew the garrison there and took the city. They promised liberation. They delivered a different kind of order, which is to say, a stadium full of civilians, loyalty oaths at the gate, and a new war to replace the old one. Because across the water, on an island carved out by flooding, lived the Seraphites, the Scars, a community built around a prophet's vision, that the Cordyceps was punishment for what humanity had been, and that survival meant becoming something simpler, something quieter, something that didn't need the old world's machines or medicines or pride. They scar their own faces as a mark of imperfection. They speak in whistles across distances. They cleared their island of infected and built a life out of wooden faith and a determination that has slowly, over the years, curdled into the same violence it was supposed to replace. The WLF and the Seraphites are at war. Nobody remembers clearly who broke the truce first. Both sides have done things that cannot be walked back, and in the middle of it, you're just a person trying to find food and keep your head down and not be in the wrong place when the next atrocity gets decided. The world that existed before the outbreak is not coming back. You know this. You have always known this, even when Fedra's propaganda suggested otherwise, even when the Fireflies promised a cure was possible, even when various leaders offered various versions of a future that always seemed to require your obedience first. What actually survives is smaller than any of that. A community with walls that held through one more winter. A person who still knows how to grow something in bad soil. A choice made quietly to not become the worst version of what this world keeps asking you to be. Nobody is writing this down. No history will record how you rationed the food or kept the children quiet when the clickers were close, or held someone's hand in the dark when there was nothing useful left to say. But you are still here. In a world where a fungus ended civilization and everything that replaced it has been varying degrees of brutal, simply remaining human, not infected, not hollow, not cruel, is the only victory left that means anything. You open your eyes. The walls are still standing. For now, that is enough.